Alright, so what is up guys? In the previous session we learned about the pathfinding service where we understood how to make the dummies smart by implementing the pathfinding service so it can move from the source source path or the source point to the destination point if there are any obstacles or some kind of obstruction in the middle of its path. So it can just be really smart and avoid those obstacles and choose another path and reach its destination, even if it has to climb the ladders or swim across the river or whatever. So in this session, we're going to be understanding about a function or a library called as task functions or the task library. I've written two questions. What are task library or what is the task functions and when do we use these functions? So for the first question, what are task functions or what is the task library? So task functions are those functions. You can take an example of one chef. He's in the kitchen and he has a lot of orders. So he starts working on one dish and he tells his assistant or like a junior chef to work on the other orders. So simultaneously or like at the same time, both the chefs are working together without freezing or whatever. So in the same way, in Roblox Studio, we can do the same thing, which is running two codes at the same time without freezing each other. Can you note that I'm not trying to say that the codes are running parallelly? The difference between parallel and what I'm trying to say is that in parallel, the codes or the scripts, they are assigned to different cores in the processor. So if you guys don't really understand it, don't worry about that. What I'm all trying to say is that you can allow one script and another script to run without freezing the first script. So here I've written four functions, which is task.wait, task.delay, task.spawn, task.defer, and that's all. So you guys must have seen a lot of YouTubers or whatsoever, like your favorite content creators who script Roblox, they use this task.wait a lot of times. So what this task.wait does is, I'll be writing a really small script so you guys can understand what happens, and in the whole thing I'll be writing all the four functions. Alright, so here I've written a really small code snippet. It took me quite a while because I had to write a lot of user-defined functions and put them inside of the function, as well as write these print statements because so if I don't write these print statements, you guys won't be able to understand it. Anyways, starting with the first function, which is local function wait. And here I've used the task function task.wait3. If I were to run this, just by calling the function wait and run it, it will say hi. And then after 3 seconds, it says, hi, this is after 3 seconds. So basically what task.wait3 does is it tells the whole script to wait 3 seconds. So if I'm not writing this in the wait function, and let's say I have like 200 lines of code in this whole script without having user-defined functions or functions like this, and I use like task.wait 5 in the 100th line or the 105 line, then the remaining lines, which is below the task.wait 5, it will have to wait 5 seconds before it can run. So this task.wait, it stops the entire script for that amount of time, or like it pauses the script. So here I've used 3. It pauses the script for 3 seconds. The next one is delay, local function delay. And here I've used print. This is outside and before the delay, task.delay 5 followed by a function and print. If I were to run this, delay followed by 2 brackets and running this. Alright, so it says this is outside and before the delay, this is outside and after the delay, and hi, this is inside and after 5 seconds. So the first print statement, which is this is outside and before the delay, it's for this print statement. And the second one, which is in the console, it says this is outside and after the delay, which is the last print statement, and it says this is outside and after the delay. And instead of the print statement, instead of the delay function, I've written a print statement, which is hi, this is inside and after 5 seconds. So as you can see in the console that the third print statement, it runs after 5 seconds. We can see in the timing 10:08:46, 10:08:51. So basically it's like around 5 seconds, which is 5 seconds. So 6 plus 5 is 11, and that's why it says 51. So basically what task.delay allows you to do is that it allows you to store code snippet, or you can say like a section of code, and it will run the entire thing after a certain amount of time that you have mentioned over here as the argument in the task.delay function. So here I've written 5. It will wait for 5 seconds, and keep in mind that even though I've written 5 here, the difference between task.delay and task.wait is that task.delay does not pause or stop the entire script. What it does is that whatever code is inside of this task.delay function, it will run after the mentioned or the required time you have written in the arguments. So I've written print hi, this is whatever. It runs only that after 5 seconds. It does not pause the script which is after or before the task.delay function. So that's the key difference between task.delay and task.wait. So the next one is spawn. Here I've written print, hey what's up, task.spawn function print, I'm running parallel. Print, hello, this is outside the spawn. If I were to run this function, alright, so here in the console it says, hey what's up, I'm running parallel. Hello, this is outside the spawn. So as you guys can see closely that it almost runs at the same time, which is like there's not much of difference in the timing. As you guys can tell from the output of the console, that the task.spawn, it runs code whichever is inside, runs at the same time with respect to whatever code is outside the task.spawn function. So you might be asking, code basic, why are we using task.spawn when we can just remove it and we can just comment it out and we can just write it like a print, 3 print statements in a row. So why are we using this task.spawn? Why can't we just write it like this? So the answer to your question is that what if I had like task.wait 5 here and then task.wait 3 here, okay? So what if I wanted like my game, basically this is not my game obviously, but what if in my game I had to run 2 scripts or 2 codes at the same time and the code had like different task.wait functions. So obviously if I run this, it will say print hey what's up, it will wait for 3 seconds and then print I'm running parallel and then it will wait for 5 seconds. But what if I want it to wait for 3 as well as 5 at the same time? So if I were to do that, I would use task.spawn function. The reason is because task.spawn allows you to run whatever the code is inside of the spawn function at the same time with respect to whatever is outside. So it doesn't pause or freeze whatever is inside or outside the task.spawn. So it says, hey, what's up? I'm running parallel. Hello, this is outside the spawn. So as you can see, it says 22, 13, 28. And the next one is 22, 13, 31. Basically 3 seconds difference from the first output to the second one. And the last one is just 2 seconds because 5 minus 3 is 2. The reason why I'm subtracting is because this whole thing is running together. The task.spawn doesn't freeze, it doesn't pause, or it doesn't stop the script. So it allows you to run this script and this one, which is outside the task.spawn, at the same time. So that's why we use the task.spawn function. The last one is local function defer. So this defer function, it's not really used by programmers, or as far as I've seen, not really big games don't really use this. Or alright, so it says hey what's up, which is the first print statement instead of the user defer function or the function defer that I've created. Hey what's up, and then in the output it says hello, this is outside the defer, which is outside the defer function, which is correct. And third output is this is inside the defer, and this one is inside the defer. So basically what the defer function allows you to do is that it like this, whatever is inside of the defer function, it will run after the outside code has been executed fully. Like it waits for the Roblox Studio to read this print statement and then print statement, and when whatever remaining code is there, it waits for the Roblox Studio to read all of that, compile it, and then show it in the game and whatever. Once all of that is completed, then it will move on to running the code which is inside of the task.defer function. Again, this task.defer and the task.spawn is quite similar when it comes to defining each of these functions, but the key or the main difference between these two functions is that the task.defer runs after like the entire script has ran. So basically whatever is inside this, it runs only after the entire main code has been executed and compiled by the Roblox Studio. What I mean by compiling is basically just reading the game or reading the script, and whereas the task.spawn, it runs at the same time without pausing or freezing the entire script. So kind of keep these points in mind between the difference between defer, spawn, delay, and the wait function. So these functions are used for VFX, which is, if you've seen the anime games where there's some kind of a FX or some kind of like, a blue anime kind of rings which forms around the player if they click a certain key, and then the player just does some kind of a anime ability, like some kind of a punching, uppercut, whatever, kickboxing, whatsoever. So when the players do that, and then some kind of a VFX or FX, you can say, it comes from the player. It looks kind of like really good and really aesthetic. So in order to implement those stuff, we use these task.wait functions. We can even use it in several fields such as shooting games, FPS games. So if you guys are making really big projects or small projects, you guys will understand when to use these task.wait functions. But as of now, just keep in mind about these differences and make your small first game, parkour game, and etc. So yeah, till then, stay safe. Bye bye.